Last fall was really challenging through much of the Midwest. It was very wet, then it turned cold fast, so a lot of people didn't get all their field work done last fall, us included. So we're making some changes going into the spring. We're going to talk a little about spring strip till today.
It's certainly been one of the big topics of discussion around the country this year. What are we going to do about strip till? Because I want to get it done. Now I got to do it in the spring. What am I going to have to change? And then also all the things that go with that, seed bed prep and fertility management. It's a big topic.
All right, let's start with this. Most people are not doing a lot of strip till in the spring, and here's why. Because it's usually wet. In the fall, it's usually a little drier, so it's a lot easier to get those fall tillage things done. We like going out with a strip till machine, either a big coulter or a shank, and going down 8 to 10 inches deep in the ground. That's awesome. But in the spring, by the time your ground is fit 8 to 10 inches deep, you probably should have planted 2 weeks earlier. So what a lot of people are doing is they're using coulter machines in the spring, and we highly recommend that you do that and then keep it much more shallow. So going down in the range of 4 inches, 5 inches, something like that, then you're in much better shape. You can get out there a lot earlier. You can get that seed bed ready. On our farm, for example, what we're going to do is we're going to put out about 10 gallons worth of PK blend, and then we're going to put about 10 gallons worth of liquid 28% with coulters as we go through the field this spring, probably about a day before the planter comes through. The advantage to doing that is hopefully a little bit better seed bed. I've got a better seed bed there, and I've warmed it up just a little bit, so that part's nice. The other thing is then I don't have to carry all that fertilizer with the planter.
Now, when we're talking about this, you may be thinking, all right, how does that influence my seed bed? It's going to be different than if you're doing it in the fall. We don't want to see this great big berm built up because, hey, you're coming right back to plant. So you want to see a little bit of a berm, but not a really high one that would settle out as it would in the fall. Also, you want to be really fussy. You don't want to have an indention. I've seen this too many times traveling around the country where farmers were trying to do a lot of tillage. Like, for example, this spring, man, I got some corn stalks or some heavy residue from last year I got to get through. If you're aggressive with that, make sure you're not pushing too much dirt out where you've got a little valley there that you're seeding into either. So you almost want to see that seed bed pretty flat so you can just come right back in and plant. It's flat to slightly have a little bit of a berm.
The number one thing I'm going to bring up to you about spring strip till is the same thing I'm going to tell you with spring planting. Don't mud it in. If you just wait a little bit longer, hopefully things will get dry enough. But here's the problem. If you create a bunch of compaction out there, especially sidewall compaction, you have now created a very challenging situation for your crop, and you probably are not going to get top yields.
Well, getting the fertility mixed in there is going to be key because on so many farms, fertility was not put on. And here's the other thing, if you're saying, man, this is my strategy, I have to do strip till, it's time consuming and being patient, as Brian mentioned, for wet conditions and other things that you're going to face across that field. You've got to be patient because yes, you're holding up the planter. There's no question. And in many cases, in many farm operations, it's the same guy running the planter as running the strip till machine. So if you find yourself in that boat, you may say, look, I'm going to do one field, plant it. Do one field with strip till, plant it. Or you may just say, I'm getting on that strip tiller until I'm done, and then I'm going to roll with the planter. It's up to you what you do. I think I'd watch and let the rainfall dictate. If you've got rain coming, strip till, and then do your planting right away on that field as you go to try and keep things moving. That would be my suggestion.
All right, here's the last thing that I've got for you. I'll just talk to you about our farm. We've got a lot of ground that was corn last year. It's either going to corn or soybeans this year. Didn't get the tillage done. If I take a look at that in the spring and I go, all right, I want to do massive tillage out there, my odds are pretty high that I'm going to create some compaction in our heavy soils that are very damp in the spring and cold. So instead, what we are doing, anything that was corn last year that didn't get tilled, it's getting strip tilled. That's just the way that we're doing it. So that way I can make one pass, I can get fertilizer on, I don't have to create a whole lot of compaction out there, and I am just tilling those strips. We also really like strip till, of course, because of the erosion reduction that we see, and that is a concern certainly with the hills that we've got. So again, anything that was corn last fall that we didn't get worked, that's going strip till this spring. We don't normally do this because normally we get everything taken care of in the fall. But we had to change our plans based on last fall, so that's where we like the coulter machine and doing it strip till in the spring.
There certainly are some challenges to doing strip till in the spring. It also could change slightly how you control our weed of the week. We'll talk about your weed control strategies later in the show.